Welcome back to episode 8, training for my first 50K. Black Canyons, February 9th, 2025. That is right, closing in on 2 months of training. The race just keeps getting closer and closer. In this episode, I want to talk about burnout, things not going right, things going right, and things I'm expecting or looking to get out of this race, and maybe some race goals. So let's get into it. And before we dive into this episode, I want to give a shout out to Piper Spin for hitting that super thanks button and leaving an awesome comment. I've always been a big fan of sharing whatever knowledge I have with everybody on this channel, whether it's course recons or something I know about training, running, cycling, whatever. But it's so rad to have a community that's building around these videos, and the knowledge I am now getting back into these comments of just little tips and insights and things that have worked for you guys. So Piper Spin, shout out to you for hitting the super thanks. Also left a really good comment just sharing what worked for them in Western States 100 in terms of the bottles. As you know, I've been having issues with bottles. So thank you for the comment. And to everybody watching, I appreciate you and thank you for watching and leaving comments and just leaving suggestions and, just being supportive. Really appreciate it. All right, we're just going to dive right on into this training week, starting with Wednesday, January 8th. As most of you know by now, Wednesdays are always interval days. Wednesdays and Saturdays are actually usually both interval days. Why do I never film Mondays and Tuesdays? Mondays are always off, recovery. Tuesdays always recovery, run, easy run. So I don't ever film those. Jumping into Wednesday though, I had 2 hours on deck again with intervals. Intervals being this time 2 by 20 minutes at a slightly faster than endurance pace. I've been doing a lot of these on the road, so I decided I wanted to do a little bit more on trail this time. So I opted going for trail with these efforts, had a nice 16-minute warm-ups, then rolled right into the first 20-minute effort. First 20 minutes done. That's kind of rough, not gonna lie. So normally I've been doing these on road. Today I opted for a trail for a couple of reasons. One, kind of simulate race terrain, but two, our winds have been really bad out here, like extremely bad, like over 20-30 miles per hour. Figured sticking to the base of the mountain will help block some of that wind. So far it's working. So the first effort, most of it was predominantly up a slight hill, so that made it a little bit hard. I just couldn't seem to get into a fast enough pace, could not get the legs to push hard enough. And then the last probably 5 minutes were downhill, and of course I was able to get in the pace, and that was no problem. Yeah, just kind of a rough one. The terrain is just kind of like a good old mix. There's some sandy sections, there's some rolling stuff, there's some big rocks. Not too technical, but enough to slow it down or just make it a little bit more challenging. These definitely felt like a bit of a struggle. Coming off of week 7, I was definitely beat up. I was mentally not in the right spot. I was just struggling. So managed to get through the first effort at a 8:51 average pace, which ended up being 2.26 miles and 453 feet of elevation gain. Not a lot, but it was like long and steady, and it got me. And the rest in between these are 7 minutes. So I had 7 minutes very easy, then rolled into the second 20-minute effort. Second 20-minute effort done. I feel like that one went a little bit better than the first, or it could be the fact that I am so off trail, zigzagging all over the place, I can't pay attention to anything else. Either or, I'll take it. I'm working myself back towards the other mountain range because I know the main trail is over there at least. I just kept ending up in all these washes really. Glad that's done. Ended up with a 9:15 pace, some more climbing, 837 feet. And I think the hardest thing about this one was I ran down this trail and then I ran back up a different trail, and that different trail just ended up disappearing. So I kept ending up in these washes that got super sandy, and then I would just off trail run in a direction trying to find the next thing that looked like a trail, follow that, and then that dead ended, and then I would run off trail again in a direction, find something that looked like a trail, and follow that, and it would dead end. So this was like repeating itself. So if it looks like I'm just a wild man running in the middle of nowhere with no trail and just looks really random, that is why. I was just out there running and could not seem to keep track of a trail. This run ended up being 12.05 miles, 1,014 feet of elevation gain, and I cut it a little bit short at an hour 57. I really want to talk about burnout, how I was feeling prior to this week, just the struggles of endurance training. Like, I feel like endurance training really takes a toll on your mental. You just kind of ride this roller coaster of highs and lows, and then you kind of end up in this slog of lows. And at times it is very hard to stay positive. Remember what you're working towards and just keep pushing. I was very, very beat up at the end of last week, just completely wrecked. I had 2 workouts that just kind of went really not so great. And then you throw on, I found out the person I was going to be running this race with, one of my friends, who actually is the only reason I signed up for this race. Turns out he has an injury and will not be racing. So you tack that on, and it's like, wow, why am I doing this? Why am I going through all this? Why am I struggling so much? So you throw that on there, and it's just like one thing after another, and little things kind of add up to bigger things than they really are. So I was just really on a low last week and just struggling by the end of the week, struggling going into this week, just feeling burnt out, feeling like this is a lot of running. I don't want to run anymore, feeling like I'm not progressing. Yeah, so many emotions and feelings and things going on with a very fatigued and tired body, sore feet, sore knees, just feeling absolutely like you've been put through the ringer. However, when things are that low, there is an upside, and you will eventually come out on the other side so long as you keep pushing and take care of yourself. I think one of the hardest things about training for this 50K is I've always been a person who's into doing multiple sports, such as when I was a kid, I was into motos, I was into skateboarding, I was into BMX, like whatever action sports I can get my hands on, I was into. When I got into endurance sports, it was triathlon, it was gravel bikes, it was all these different things, trail running, you know. So training for this 50K, I think the hardest thing has been there has not been a whole lot of time to ride the bike, and it's just a ton of running, a ton of volume and everything else, more running than I've ever done. So that kind of just like took a little bit of the fun away, like just because I've been missing riding my bike and all these other things. Like I said, I knew I would come out of that dark tunnel into some light. I just kind of had to force it. Thursday the 9th, I was supposed to have 2 hours of endurance, and with how not so great the first workout went this week, I decided to just skip it. I'll be straight up honest, like I said, I was burnt out. Like, I was not feeling it. I did not want to do it. I did not want to run. I didn't want to do anything. We've had some crazy winds here in the desert. I mean, just absolutely nuts. And yeah, so I skipped it, which was actually probably the best thing I could have done, because I woke up Friday pissed at myself, pissed that I was feeling this way, mad, angry that I was falling off, mad, angry because I didn't feel like I was progressing, because I didn't want to keep doing this. I was just in this low spot. So come Friday, I decided I was just going to go and run. And that's what I did. Friday, January 10th, I woke up with one thing on my mind: run. That was it. I was just going to go and run. This was a very interesting mindset I had this day. It was just a matter of running. I really wanted to just get out there, put some miles in, but secretly what I needed to know was, am I progressing? Am I getting any closer to being able to finish this race? Am I putting all this hard work in and actually going to get something out of it? I really needed a confidence booster. I needed that light at the end of the tunnel that was going to bring me out and light a fire under my butt and basically get me back at it. So I headed out with the idea of running the TT course that is used for 24-hour worlds out here, which is a bike race. It is usually about an 18-19 mile loop around town. So I had the idea that if I just went and did that, that would put me close to 20 miles. Beautiful day out here in the desert, but man, these Santa Ana winds have been no joke over here. I finally got into a section where it's on my back, not in front of my face. Definitely makes for some interesting miles, especially on the slight uphills. Hammering away into a headwind, slide uphill on roads you can just see that go forever. If there was no wind, it'd be an absolutely lovely day. But yeah, they're providing an extra element of training this week. Partway through that, it got into my mind that I need to hit at least 20 miles. So I just kept running down these miles, mad at myself, pissed at myself. Later in the day, it kind of got in my mind that, well, if I hit an X amount of hours, I can make up for the day I took off. If I hit X amount of miles, I can make up for this or that. Truth be told, I just was on a mission to run, and I just needed some proof that I was progressing. Two hours down, no idea how much longer I can go. Just gonna run. That's it. Run. A little over 3 hours in, 21 miles. I just stopped at my house, used it as like an aid station, made some ramen noodles, ate some ramen noodles, had a little bit of soda, refilled the bottle, drank an electrolyte water, some recovery, and then switched out my road shoes for trail shoes. I'm gonna run up into the hills now just to tack on some extra miles and some actual elevation. After 21 miles, I was not sold. I needed more. So I decided to go run trail. I ended up with about 500 feet of elevation on the road. My idea going to run trail was try to see how much elevation I could tack on in maybe 5 more miles to get a marathon, tack on 5 more miles and see if I can get elevation that's going to be close to what I'd be racing. So I went and ran on some dirt, ran up some hills on tired legs, now with the mindset of I'm going to run a marathon. And that's what I did. I hit a marathon. Let me put this in perspective to you. This is actually my second ever marathon. The first one went so bad that I ended up walking 7 miles. It was a dirt marathon and downhill. That's another story for another time, but I walked the last 7 miles. I was not going to walk today. There was no way. It wasn't happening. I was feeling good, and I knocked out a marathon, PR'd my marathon, Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. I'm not elite, I'm not professional, I'm not fast, but I got a PR in my marathon, made it back to the house, and finished off the day with 27.27 miles on a Friday. I woke up with the mindset of I'm just going to go and run. And that's what I did. I ran and I just kept running. And let me tell you, after having burnout, after being in such a bad headspace with a tired body and everything else going on, it was that run that brought me back. Brought me back to thinking, okay, A, I'm progressing, but B, I'm back in this. I'm excited again. I'm ready to train some more. I'm ready to get after this. Super excited to hit 27 miles in a run. Man, that felt amazing. I was super excited about that. And while these are maybe not paces or times I can hit out on 30 something miles of trail, it just felt good knowing that I could do this. Friday ended up with 27.27 miles, 4 hours and 22 minutes and 29 seconds, because we're just going to throw it all in there, with an average pace of 9:38 and 1,778 feet of elevation gain. And the whole 21 miles while I was running, I was averaging like an 840, 850 pace, which was just felt comfortable and just felt like a gear I could hang into and just run all day, which was what I was trying to do. The pace really dropped, obviously, when I hit the trail and started running up hills and things like that. Beyond thrilled to have ran 27 miles. That just makes me feel like, okay, we're on track. Another part of the burnout, I think, is just making these videos every week. So almost every run, I am going out with a camera. I got to film all this and train, come back, edit, put together something for the end of the week. Now, I know I'm complaining. I absolutely love doing this. At times, it gets a little bit lost. It just can be a grind week after week. This is officially going to be 8 videos of this I've made. So you tack that on with just the running and the training, and it's just a lot. I was kind of at a point this week where I just didn't want to film anything. Rolling into Saturday, there was no way I was picking up a camera. Body felt pretty good from the 27 miles the day before. My knees were back to feeling jacked. So I just went out and ran some super easy miles. Ended up doing 8 miles on Saturday. Let's roll on into Sunday. Again, I was not feeling taking a camera out. I just wanted to go run, get my workout done, and be done. So sorry for the lack of footage this week. I just needed a little bit of break of carrying a camera and trying to film and run and tacking all this on. Sunday, I was feeling actually really good, surprisingly, after doing 27 miles, some recovery miles. I was feeling really good. My knees were hurting quite a bit, but after taking into a couple miles, that kind of went away and they felt good again. So I just decided to just kind of push some miles. Not super fast, but faster than what I've been running most of my endurance. Ended up running 2 hours and 9 minutes, 15 miles, 0.76 at an average pace of 8:14. And that run was extremely good. It feels really good to end the week on a high note. I am thrilled for that. Goals. Okay, now that I've been talking for 30 minutes, let's talk some goals for this race. I am not a big goal person. I don't set out lofty goals. I don't really believe in goals. I believe in if I want to do something, I'm going to do something. If I want to try to get somewhere, I'm going to try. Whether that's training hard to get there, whatever. Goals for this race. One, obviously, is to finish. To run that whole 50K and to be able to finish. I would like to run sub 6. I think I'm capable of running a sub 6 with how fast this course is. If I can run a sub 6, I'd be really excited. If I ran sub 5, I'd be beyond thrilled. Yeah. So sub 6, I think that would be a great goal to achieve if I could do that. And then there's always little ones that I have in the back of my mind. Doesn't matter if I'm racing triathlon, trail, or bike racing or whatever, but I always have it in my mind. Can I make top 100? And can I maybe make top 50? Those are always in my mind when I'm racing and training and everything. It's just to see if I can get close to those. I'm not saying I am going for a top 100 or top 50, but if it somehow happens, that'd be amazing. I have been able to do it before in certain races, gravel, triathlon, trail. So if I can do that at a big race like Black Canyons, that'd be just the icing on the cake. That would just be like so good. But it's not what I'm shooting for. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. My big one is just finishing the thing. I'll be happy finishing it. And then if I get anything else on top of that, I'd be thrilled. Well, that's enough rambling for me. I am going to take next week off. I am not going to do 50K filming next week. I am going to do some running. However, me and a buddy are going to go on a little trip with bikes, bike packing. Yeah, a little bit of a reset. I know it's a funny time to be popping that in the middle of this training, but after running 27 miles, I feel like I am on track, and I feel like just doing something different is not going to make or break this whole thing. So I'm going to take a little bit of break of making these videos for a week. I'm going to still get in some miles, but it won't be like what I've been getting. I ended up with 69 miles this week, big week. So it'll be a lot less next week. And then after next week, it's full tilt for the final 2 or 3 weeks that it is. And then just game on. We'll see what happens. Like, comment, subscribe, all those fun things. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to me ramble on again. And stay tuned for some bike stuff I'm not telling you about. See you in the next one.